Hello and welcome back to Jackknives Reviews. I'm of course your host, Jackknive. Today I'll be reviewing the Apple TV Plus series, Manhunt.
God bless America.
In the wake of Abraham Lincoln's assassination, Edwin Stanton is in a deep search to track down and arrest the man responsible, turning over every stone, trying to find out who knew about it and exactly where to find the most wanted man in America, John Wilkes Booth. This series flew really heavily under my radar. After I had watched A Murder at the End of the World, I needed something to be a palate cleanser, and I figured I'd take a shot at a series that, maybe most people have never heard of. Maybe most people had never talked about. Maybe it's a series that could be hit or miss, and so I turned to Apple TV Plus. To say that this is an underrated series is in fact an understatement. This show actually had really well-written pacing, story development, character development, a story that many people never really ask about. Now, everyone already knows about the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Many people don't really know the story of how John Wilkes Booth was caught and after effects thereafter. And that's where this story focuses itself on. And it does it in a way that doesn't really downplay it. It doesn't over-historicalize the way it's delivered. It feels like someone retelling the story in a play format, but not too much of a play format. Tobias Menzies, who plays Edwin Stanton, does a phenomenal job at portraying a person who's simultaneously looking for justice as well as a person who's really just looking for reason. I mean, it was one thing in the heat of the Civil War and the post-Civil War, but it was more of like, not necessarily why John Wilkes Booth did it, but why him specifically. It wasn't necessarily the fact of Abraham Lincoln not having enemies, because he had a lot of them. But John Wilkes Booth was just such a random person to do it. I mean, he was just essentially a stage actor. Like, what led to it? Obviously, this wasn't a singular goal of his. And he seems so driven in this story, and you really kind of like get hooked into his performance of it. And with him is the counterpart of Anthony Boyle playing John Wilkes Booth, who plays this sort of sadder, sympathetic almost person who almost regrets everything that he did because he doesn't really understand until after the fact of what he actually had done. The entire cast from A to Z performs their role splendidly in the sense of they feel like they showed respect to the historical figures in which they're based on, but they also define them as their own. I actually really had kind of a mixed feeling about an adaptation of something like this, of this story being done where they either go too much on the historical route or they go too much on the trying to relate to the common man story, but this has a great balance of both. The cinematography, the lighting, the sets, the designs, everything just synced. It felt raw, but in a good way. It felt that you were showing the respect of the investigation that I feel that this sort of story makes you want to go into deeper and read into it the more you get into the story. I do believe this is a series that many people can enjoy, especially if you really like history. I believe if you like history, and especially the history that isn't very readily popularized or talked about, this is just the right amount balance for you. Or if you just want to see a really good show that tells on a story that many people may not understand, this show's got you covered. I give Manhunt 5 out of 5. Have you seen Manhunt? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, I'll see you next time.